the unspoken line, when words stop being police business. In an era defined by rapid change and constant flux, the very ground beneath our feet often feels uncertain. We navigate a world where information and misinformation spreads at lightning speed. Amidst this digital deluge, a profound shift has been occurring in how we perceive the power and potential danger of words themselves. What was once considered mere opinion can now be weaponized, or so the argument often goes. This evolving landscape has given rise to a new kind of legal and social battlefield. It's a space where the boundaries of acceptable speech are constantly tested, debated, and redefined. And now, a major player in law enforcement has stepped into this arena with a decision that has sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom. The Metropolitan Police, one of the world's most renowned police forces, has made a significant announcement. This isn't just a policy tweak or a minor procedural adjustment. This is a bombshell, a declaration that has ignited fierce debate and captured the attention of political observers, legal experts, and everyday citizens alike. They are stopping something fundamental, something that has been a part of their operational remit for years. This decision marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing conversation about free speech, public safety, and the role of law enforcement in a modern society. The core of this seismic shift is straightforward yet profound. The Metropolitan Police are officially ceasing investigations into a specific category of incidents. This is not a temporary measure, but a fundamental reevaluation of their priorities and responsibilities. The focus of this cessation is specifically on what have been termed non-crime hate incidents. This designation is crucial, as it immediately distinguishes these occurrences from actual criminal offenses. What this means, in practical terms, is that certain words, certain expressions of thought, and certain forms of online communication are now effectively off the police radar. They will no longer be subject to formal police inquiry or recording. This policy change represents a significant departure from previous practices. It redefines the scope of police involvement in matters of public discourse and personal expression. To truly grasp the magnitude of the Met's decision, we must first understand what a non-crime hate incident actually entails. These are incidents that, while deeply unpleasant or offensive, do not meet the legal threshold of a criminal offense. They are situations where an individual perceives themselves, or another person, to have been subjected to an act motivated by hostility or prejudice. The key distinction, however, is that no actual crime has been committed under existing law. Consider, for example, an offensive tweet posted online. While it might be hurtful, discriminatory, or even deeply upsetting to many, it may not constitute a criminal act like incitement to violence or harassment. Another common example involves insulting comments made in a public space or online forum. These remarks, though potentially causing significant distress, often fall short of legally defined hate crimes. These incidents, without question, can cause genuine hurt, distress, and a sense of vulnerability to the individuals targeted. The emotional impact can be substantial, leading to feelings of marginalization and fear. However, the critical legal point is that these actions, by definition, do not break existing laws designed to prosecute criminal behavior. They exist in a gray area, where perceived harm clashes with legal definitions. Historically, police forces across the UK, including the Met, have investigated and recorded these types of incidents. This practice was often driven by a desire to monitor hate trends and provide support to victims, even in the absence of a crime. The recording of these incidents, even without criminal charges, created a database of perceived hate. This data was then used to inform community policing strategies and understand societal tensions. The Metropolitan Police have been clear and direct in articulating the primary reason behind this significant policy shift. Their decision, they state, is fundamentally driven by resource limitations. Like many public services, the police force finds its resources stretched thin. They face increasing demands, complex criminal investigations, and a constant need to prioritize where their limited personnel and budget are allocated. The sheer volume of reported non-crime hate incidents had become a significant drain on these already constrained resources. Officers were spending valuable time investigating complaints that, by definition, could not lead to criminal charges. The Met's leadership has emphasized the critical need to focus on investigating real crime. This means dedicating their efforts to offenses that directly threaten public safety, property, and the rule of law. They argue that every hour spent on a non-crime incident is an hour not spent on tackling burglaries, violent assaults, fraud, or other serious criminal activities. This reprioritization is presented as a pragmatic necessity. This rationale underscores a fundamental tension in modern policing: how to balance community reassurance and the recording of perceived harms with the core mandate of preventing and prosecuting actual crimes. The Met's decision firmly leans towards the latter. It's a stark acknowledgement that the police cannot be all things to all people. They must make difficult choices about where their finite resources can have the most impact on public safety and justice. Unsurprisingly, the Metropolitan Police's decision has not been met with universal acclaim. A chorus of critics has emerged, strongly vocal against what they perceive as a dangerous step backward. Many argue that this move effectively gives a green light for hate speech. They fear it will embolden individuals who harbor prejudiced views, making them feel they can express hateful sentiments without consequence. For these critics, the cessation of investigations is perceived as a free pass for hateful behavior. They believe it sends a message that such actions are no longer taken seriously by law enforcement. Concerns are particularly acute among minority groups and communities who have historically been targets of hate. They worry that this decision will leave them more vulnerable and unprotected. There is also a significant concern about setting a dangerous precedent. Critics fear that other police forces across the UK will follow suit, leading to a nationwide rollback of protections against hate. The debate surrounding this issue is intense and ongoing, reflecting deep divisions in society about the balance between free speech and the need to protect individuals from harm. It touches on fundamental values. Advocacy groups, civil liberties organizations, and community leaders have all weighed in, expressing their dismay and warning of potential negative consequences. They argue that the recording of these incidents, even if not criminal, was vital. They contend that the data collected from non-crime hate incidents provided crucial intelligence. It helped identify emerging patterns of prejudice and allowed for early intervention and community support. The Metropolitan Police's decision carries far-reaching implications that extend well beyond the immediate operational changes. It touches upon fundamental pillars of our society, sparking complex discussions. Firstly, it has massive implications for the concept of free speech. For some, this is a victory, a reassertion that the police should not be arbiters of offensive but non-criminal expression. They argue it protects robust debate. For others, it represents a dangerous erosion of protections against harmful rhetoric. They believe that unchecked hate speech can escalate into real-world violence and discrimination, making society less safe. Secondly, the decision directly impacts community safety, albeit in different ways depending on one's perspective. Proponents argue it frees up resources to tackle crimes that genuinely threaten safety. Opponents, however, contend that ignoring non-crime hate incidents will lead to an increase in hostility and division, ultimately making communities feel less safe and more vulnerable to prejudice. Thirdly, this move challenges the very definition of what is acceptable in public discourse. By withdrawing police involvement, it implicitly shifts the responsibility for addressing offensive speech to other societal mechanisms. This could mean a greater reliance on social media platforms to self-regulate, or on community groups to mediate disputes. It places a heavier burden on individuals to confront or ignore hateful expressions. The decision also raises questions about the role of the state in regulating speech that causes offense but not criminal harm. It forces a reevaluation of where the line should be drawn between personal liberty and collective protection. It's a stark reminder that the law is not always equipped to address every form of social harm. Some issues, while deeply impactful, may fall outside the traditional scope of criminal justice. As the dust settles on this landmark announcement, a significant degree of uncertainty hangs in the air. One of the most pressing questions is whether other police forces across the United Kingdom will follow suit. If the Met's decision proves to be a successful model for resource allocation, it is highly probable that other forces facing similar pressures will adopt a comparable approach. This could lead to a nationwide shift. Conversely, if the Met experiences unforeseen negative consequences, such as a perceived rise in hate-motivated incidents or a loss of public trust, other forces might hesitate to implement similar policies. The coming months will be crucial in observing the practical impact of this change. Will it genuinely free up significant resources for the investigation of real crime, leading to improved clear-up rates and greater public safety? Or will it, as critics fear, embolden hateful individuals, leading to an increase in offensive and discriminatory behavior that goes unchecked and unrecorded? The answer to this question will shape future policy. There is also the question of how communities will adapt. Will civil society organizations step up to fill the perceived void, offering more support and mediation for those affected by non-criminal hate? This decision forces a reevaluation of the entire ecosystem of addressing hate and prejudice. It's a complex challenge with no easy answers, and its long-term effects will undoubtedly be a subject of intense scrutiny. The future of how the UK balances free expression with the desire to combat hate is now more uncertain than ever. This policy change is not an end, but rather a new beginning in a critical societal debate. The Metropolitan Police's decision to cease investigations into non-crime hate incidents is more than just a bureaucratic adjustment. It is a profound statement about the priorities of law enforcement and the boundaries of speech in a modern democracy. It forces us to confront difficult questions about where the line between offensive expression and criminal behavior truly lies. It challenges our assumptions about the role of the police in mediating social discourse. The central question remains: is this a victory for free speech? A necessary reprioritization that allows police to focus on genuine threats, thereby strengthening the rule of law? Or is it a disaster waiting to happen? A dangerous abdication of responsibility that will embolden prejudice and leave vulnerable communities exposed? The answer, perhaps, lies in the unfolding future, in the real-world consequences that will emerge from this bold and controversial policy shift. What are your thoughts on this pivotal decision?